Hi, my name's Amy, and these are my top favorites of 2014. Okay, so I just started booktubing this past year, 2014, so I haven't really talked a lot about everything that I've read except for the past couple months because that's when I started booktubing. So there are going to be a lot of books on my top favorite list that I didn't cover in previous hauls or wrap-ups or anything, just because I got to them before recording for booktube. So without further ado, here are my top 10 favorites in no particular order because I could not rank these because they're so good. Books of 2014. So the first book is On Writing by Stephen King. I've been meaning to read this one for a while because I've heard it's just an excellent view on writing and Stephen King's memoir at the same time. And while I don't read Stephen King books because I'm a wuss, I'm a huge wuss and would have nightmares for weeks if I read Stephen King's fiction. But anyways, I was really interested in picking up the book because he is such, a timeless writer now. Everybody wants to pick up the latest Stephen King. So I wanted to see what he had to say about writing, and I feel like I picked up a lot of interesting things from this one. So that's why it's one of my favorites this year. The next book I read, I don't own a hard copy of it because I listened to the audiobook, but I am hoping to get it in hard copy eventually because that's what I do. And that is Beauty Queens by Libba Bray. I've heard mixed reviews about Beauty Queens, but I just loved it, especially the audiobook because Libba Bray is the one who narrates it, and she does all of the characters so well. Each one has an individual voice, and I was actually laughing out loud as I listened to a lot of this. And so it was just so much fun. If you don't know what it's about, it's usually sold as Lord of the Flies meets America's Next Top Model, and that kind of sells it short. I mean, that is kind of the premise, but it's so much more. It just delves into all these different characters and such a diverse cast of young women who kind of come off as shallow in the beginning, but you learn so much more about them as the novel goes on. So definitely worth checking out. My next favorite is Cress by Marissa Meyer. This is the third book in the Lunar Chronicles, if you aren't familiar with it. This is one of my newest favorite series, and I can't wait for winter. Fairest is coming out next week, I think, which is the prequel book, but we have to wait even longer for winter. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can wait that long. Anyways, I really love Cress, if you can't tell by the cover. It's a Rapunzel story, but it's so much more than that. It's sci-fi, it's fairy tale, it's got all these great characters. I loved the addition of Cress, I loved learning more about Thorn, and I just love that each story continues and doesn't seem to overwhelm the other, even if the first book is Cinderella, the second book is Red Riding Hood, and this one's Rapunzel. All the characters fill the scene and make the book so amazing. Love it. Next on the list is Alienated by Melissa Landers. So I picked this one up on a whim, wasn't really expecting much from it except kind of a cheesy sci-fi romance, but I really, really ended up loving this one. The whole concept is that an alien race from outer space has made contact with Earth, and so far things have been peaceful. They've granted help, and so in an effort to continue these peaceful relationships, the alien planet are sending some of their younger students to Earth as an exchange program. The main character, Kara's family, acts as a host family for Alex, I believe is how you pronounce his name, which is one of the aliens that comes on this program. And so the aliens who are visiting may have ulterior motives, and so it's all about the two coming together and kind of branching the differences between the alien race and the Earth race, because while we may look similar, there are a lot of differences. The next book on my list I also do not own a hard copy of because I read a library copy, but I am hoping to purchase it in the near future, and that is To All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han. And so this is a contemporary romance. I actually ended up reading a lot more contemporaries this year than I usually do. I guess just because there were a lot of good ones this year. So it's a cute romance, except it's more than that. It's a lot about the main character, Lara Jean's relationship with her family, her sisters, her father, as well as past crushes, friends at school, and maybe new crushes. So it's just a lot of fun, and I like how Jenny Han worked with the family relationships a lot too, and so I'm really looking forward to the sequel because the ending was really cliffhangery. Well, not cliffhanger. It was kind of bittersweet. You didn't get the full package, and so I'm hoping that while some things got cleared up at the end of this book, that even more things will get cleared up in the sequel, and that more romance will bloom. The next book I read is another contemporary, and that is Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. It's a road trip read, which I feel like it's kind of a big, well, it's getting to be a bigger genre now. And so I just really, really loved the characters in this book, the building relationship. I don't think it felt too rushed, even though it did take over a short period of time. It really developed naturally between Amy and Roger. I like the main characters a lot, but I also like a lot of the side characters as well. Because they're traveling from place to place, you get to meet a lot of other people that they run across in their travels. And so I feel like a lot of times authors can kind of gloss over characters who aren't sticking around for the whole story. But Morgan Matson did a really good job with that. And I also really like it because it has like stuff inside the book. There's like notes and stuff from the characters. So like they have playlists here of songs they played on their road trip and like pamphlets from places they've been. So I really like cute things like that that kind of really put you in the story and the world. So you're not just reading about it, you're kind of there with them. Next one is another surprise contemporary, and that is Anna and the French Kiss. So I have seen this book sitting around for a while in an older cover with the characters on the front cover, and I judged the book by the cover, I'm sorry. When I saw it in this cover, I was like, oh, I might pick that up now. And so I'm really glad I did. It was a really, really sweet, cute romance. I mean, I got a little stressed out with the whole back and forth of, do they like me, do they not like me? But in the end, I think it was worth it, and I'm just, I'm so in love with it. And I think Stephanie Perkins really portrayed France really well. It's hard for me to come into settings I'm not really familiar with, but I think Perkins did a great job of describing the city, especially through the eyes of Anna, who is the first time, it's her first time there. And so you really get to fall in love with the city alongside with her, as well as falling in love with St. Clair. Oh, swoon. Anyways, but I haven't read the sequels. Well, they're not sequels, the follow-up books. I haven't read Lola or Isla yet, but I'm really looking forward to picking those up soon. The next book on my list is another contemporary-ish kind of read, and it is also a adult fiction. It's not young adult, and that is Landline by Rainbow Rowell. Rainbow Rowell is one of my newest favorite authors, and I was so excited to get this, so excited to get this, and I love it. I love it. I mean, it's not my favorite Rainbow Rowell book. I think that place still goes to Fangirl, but I read that last year. So anyways, Landline was really sweet and interesting. I like that it didn't kind of wrap up neat in a bow, because the main character, Georgie, is really concerned about her marriage, her family, her career, and I think those are all things that people at her age bracket kind of worry about, and so I like that it wasn't all the answers were there, because I don't think all the answers are there in real life. So I like that Georgie kind of figured out what was important, but it still didn't clear up if things are gonna be perfect and okay from this point on. It's just that there's a chance that things are gonna get better for her. Plus, there's a cameo by two of the characters in a previous Rainbow Rowell book, my favorite Rainbow Rowell book, which is Fangirl, and I was so excited to see them inside this book, even if it was just brief, but it was so worth reading about them. So if you haven't read it, definitely pick up Landline. Next book on the list, The Bitter Kingdom by Ray Carson. And this is the third book in the Girl of Fire and Thorn series, which is by far one of my favorite fantasies right now, and I just love it. The main character, Elisa, is just so amazing and yet so flawed all at the same time, which I love. She's just so realistic from beginning to end, and it's it was such a journey coming with her, you know, starting at the bottom and going all the way up to where she is. And even though she has gained so much, she's so much more confident at the end of this book than she was at the beginning of the first one, she just still feels so real, and I just admire that a lot about this series. And every character in this book, good or bad, was interesting, and I wanted to read more about them in this world. It's so unique, and I love this series so much, and it was such a satisfying ending. I feel like a lot of times you get disappointed by sequels when you really love the first book, but this series just got better and better. It did not disappoint at all. And the last book on my list is Waistcoats and Weaponry by Gail Carriger. And this is, again, the third book in a series. I'm sensing a pattern in some of these, but I love this series. I loved the original series that Gail Carriger wrote, as I have mentioned many times in previous videos. So if you haven't gotten the hint, you should be reading Gail Carriger books. And so this is the third and second to last book in this series. It's steampunk, it's fantasy, it's comedy, it's everything. It's like, I love it. I love Sophronia, the main character. She's funny and she's brave, but she's also a little foolhardy, so it's an interesting combination. And so the ending was so crazy. It was crazy, and I freaked out. And I was a little worried about one of the characters at the end of this book, but saved. She worries me sometimes, Gail Carriger. And so the next book comes out sometime, eventually, soon-ish. I believe this year, 2015. But one of her other books is coming out this year as well, and that's a direct sequel series to her first series, The Parasol Protectorate. And I'm dying. I want it. But anyways, I really wish I had more words to describe my love for all of these books. But I think you get the general idea that I love them. And so I hope I have inspired you to maybe pick up some of these if you haven't already. And if you have read some of these, let me know. I want to talk to you about them, so go ahead and leave comments below. If you read any, if you want to read any of these, I am so happy to talk about these books just because I love them so much. That's it for today, so as I said, leave comments below so we can chat. If you like my videos, please feel free to subscribe, to like, to share, all of the above. And I will talk to you all later. Bye!